All right, let's talk about CMLL's anniversary show. So, the original promotional name for this. So, I will use these interchangeably because there was a lot of emphasis on EMLL, which is Empresa Mexicana de Lucha Libre, which is in Spanish, I am not kidding you, for Mexican Wrestling Promotion. That was literally the original name of this. But now, with the new name, Centro Mundial de Lucha Libre, it's actually World Wrestling Council in Spanish.
Centro Mundial de Lucha Libre.
Oh my God! Heaven forbid you can't pronounce Ingobernable, but every other Mexican name you could possibly think of, you can pronounce it immediately. So, the show commemorates its first show run by EMLL, which happened on September 22nd, 1933. Let's just really think about that age. 1933. There has only been 1 year.
That was 5 years before my grandpa was born.
Mm-hmm. 1 year they did not have an anniversary show, which we'll talk about here in a moment.
And that was 2020, wasn't it?
1985.
Oh.
They actually had one in 2020. So, this is their WrestleMania equivalent right here. This is their anniversary show, which is why I gave a huge emphasis on why they're doing just a Night of Champions where anybody can vote. This is like if Triple Mania just said, just tell us what the matches should be and we'll just book
exactly.
it. No, I want rivalries ending. I want a big thing. We've watched anniversary shows that were huge, and this was not it.
But it wasn't.
Because I just know. So every single anniversary show for CMLL happened in Mexico City, and it always happened in a venue that they either owned or they had a majority stake in, which we'll talk about more in that. With its history, since the beginning of 1934, this is the oldest running Mexican or professional wrestling show in existence. There's only been 1 year, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But we'll need to talk about CMLL because there's a lot of history within CMLL that I feel like needs to talk about. The first anniversary show happened on September 22nd, 1934, when the company was called EMLL, and the venue was Arena Modelo, which was the same location as Arena Mexico, but they tore it down and rebuilt it very much years later in Mexico City, Mexico, which is actually on a good part of Mexico City, by the way. So, I wouldn't mind going there and watching a show there. From 1934 to 1936, EMLL rented this arena for this show.
Nice.
And they also rented it for all of their shows. But in 1944, they began holding their anniversary shows in Arena Cosiaro, which is the Coliseum.
Okay.
An arena that they personally owned. So it took until 1944 for them to do that. From 1944 through 1955, EMLL held their anniversary show in the Coliseum. Traditionally, EMLL or CMLL held their major events on Friday nights, replacing the regularly scheduled Super Veneros show, which happened at that same time. On the day of the anniversary show, EMLL owner Salvador Letero, which we'll talk about, won 40,000 pesos in a Mexican national lottery, allowing him to purchase the building that they did the show.
Yeah, I heard about that. I think that actually was their the anniversary of that was not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. He bought the building, Arena Modelo, and started to renovate the building because it was very outdated even at that time, and primarily used and also the first main event at the EML first anniversary show was main evented by non-Mexican wrestlers. One of them was an American and the other one was a Canadian. And actually Salvador primarily used non-Mexican wrestlers in his main events. This was actually a booking style that he used because they viewed it as exotic. So that's why it was a main event, not a general show, because they would have all the Mexican wrestlers wrestle all the time anywhere else. It was like he brought in the biggest and best wrestlers from all over the world to do their anniversary show, and that's why they were the main event.
Interesting.
The first anniversary show only had 3 documented matches that were confirmed by CMLL and most wrestling historians. The main event was Tigre Ray Ryan, who is from the United States, taking on Serge Burnet, which is a French-Canadian wrestler. And also, we also have to talk about a huge debut. This guy has a black mask. He is known as the Masked Marvel. He is very important within the significance of Mexican wrestling history because he is the first Mexican wrestler to wear a mask.
Really?
The first one. Right here. His debut was at EML first anniversary show.
Nice.
He won a battle royal, and he popularized this, a total black mask. And he wasn't even that good.
Okay.
But he is his promotion. And what this man did, honestly, I feel like we have a huge debt of gratitude to own to this man. This is Salvador, by the way.
Yeah.
The father of Mexican wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
He built Arena Mexico that we know of. Right now, Arena Mexico is known as the cathedral of Lucha Libre.
Yeah.
And I think it's justified.
Oh, yeah.
It is a cathedral. It is the... If you are a true Mexican wrestling fan, if you're a true professional wrestling fan, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You gotta go to Arena Mexico.
Absolutely.
And you know when shit opens back up, Peanut Gallery and I will go to a CMLL show.
I pray towards that 5 times a day. I'm just kidding.
That's an interesting thought. So, there were a couple of different things happening. So, there were a couple of different matches and stuff throughout the things of EMLL. But the problem is that recording within EMLL was not great at that time. So there were maybe 1 or 2 matches. But on the 10th anniversary show...
Was that as bad as WWE tonight?
Not as bad. They booked 4 or 5. They booked 8 to 10 matches, but they only recorded like 1 or 2. Because these are undocumented. And there's no reason why there's not. But there was one match on the EMLL 10th anniversary show that was very significant for a multitude of reasons. Number 1, there was only 1 documented match that was confirmed by many wrestling historians. But also, this was the first anniversary show to take place in Arena Cosiaro. First one. EMLL's new main building that was replaced by the now Arena Mexico. Same property. But the main event was the earliest bet match. The first Lucha de Estrella match. Apuestas. Which was featured by Blue Demon Jr. taking on one of his main rivals, I can't remember the name, in a mask versus hair.
Nice.
That was the first recorded Lucha de Apuestas.
What year was this?
This was in This was the 10-year anniversary, so that was
1935.
1935. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Now, the 20th anniversary had the first main event by 2 icons in not only Lucha Libre legends, but in Mexican wrestling lore. In folklore. This is how big this is. This is literally like if Hulk Hogan faced John Cena right now.
Okay.
This was the first match between Blue Demon and El Santos.
Nice.
For the Mexican national middleweight champion. This was 2 out of 3 falls, and Blue Demon won both falls. And it was an hour and 15-minute match.
Jesus.
But it really cemented this because this rivalry went on for decades.
Right.
But this was their first main event. And they built this because originally this was a tag.
Right.
Blue Demon and I think it was Black Panther and El Santos beat Black Panther in a mask versus mask and took off his mask. So Blue Demon, even though him being a heel, got his revenge on the folklore-esque El Santos.
Right.
And I don't think people realize how big these two are.
I don't
Or
think so.
were.
Right.
I mean, movies, comic books,
Right.
television appearances. I mean, these two were mega stars
Yeah.
back in the 30s. Amazing stuff. So, the 21st anniversary show had one documented match that
Jesus.
happened. One. There was a full card, but only one match that even meant anything. This was the first recorded Super Libre match. You talked about this, that there weren't a lot of matches that were no disqualification. This was the first no disqualification match in CMLL history at this point. And, wrong picture. It featured Gory Guerrero,
Nice.
Eddie Guerrero's father. And
It was the he was the brother of Chavo Guerrero Sr., but no,
He was a
not.
father.
He was a father. He was the patriarch of the Guerrero family.
Yes, Chavo Classic. He was the firstborn of Gory.
Right. And then Eddie was the younger brother who happened to be around the same age as the grand. Yeah.
Yep, that's what was going on there. It was a crazy history. Maybe I'll do like a thing
It was
about
it
the
was
Guerrero
it was
family history.
the patriarch of the Guerrero.
But his opponent, who is actually pictured here, Cavandillo Galillo, this match ended in a no contest because actually both of them could not compete.
Wow.
They lost so much blood, and it was one of the bloodiest matches in CMLL history.
Or EML at this time.
Well, EML at this time, but it was so bad, it was so violent that Galindo suffered a throat injury.
Jesus.
He had to go to the hospital for an emergency tracheotomy.
God.
But he also could speak, but he spoke with a very graggly rasp for
Right.
the rest of his life.
Jesus.
But this cemented this history because these guys also had that kind of bloody history. This was the first main event
Right.
of these two. But this was a brutal match.
Right.
And it really cemented their legacies because Gory Guerrero is also known for these kinds of matches. The 23rd anniversary show, and that's also very important.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first anniversary show that was under the newly constructed Arena Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
It had 17,678 spectators, and there was only one documented match. It was a lucha de apuestas, mask versus mask between El Santo and El Gladiador. I'm going to assume that you know who won that.
El Santo.
Thank you. El Santos only showed his face once in his entire life, and that was, I think, 3 days before he died.
Yep.
He did an appearance, and then 3 days later, he was sitting on a park bench, had a heart attack, and died in the middle of a park. Kind of a crazy ending to him. EMLL's 23rd anniversary. Oh, that's what we said. Sorry. The first anniversary show under the CMLL name, because they actually wanted to do a global outreach,
Right.
was the 59th anniversary show. And that was on September 18th, 1992. And there was not really anything important that happened. It was just because it was the first one under the CMLL name, and it's been that way ever since.
All right, great. Let's move on.
Now, I do want to talk about the 1 year that did not have an anniversary show.
Okay.
For one reason only. The show was supposed to go on September 20th, 1985, but
Earthquake.
on September 19th, 1985, an 8.0 magnitude earthquake struck the heart of Mexico City, and two aftershocks.
Yep.
Both of them reaching 7.5 magnitudes.
Yep.
412 buildings collapsed.
Yep.
and another 3,123 were severely damaged, with thousands of deaths. I mean, the range was very vast. I couldn't really determine, but it ranged from 3,000 to, I think the most that they said was like 30,000 people died.
Yeah.
With this earthquake. Huge event. This was the huge thing in the 80s.
Yeah.
But I could not find any information on the damage of Arena, not Arena Mexico, because it didn't exist at this point, but Arena... the Coliseum Arena, because that was before. I could not find any information regarding the destruction of that building.
But happening so close and having so much damage,
I would be surprised if at least there was something. I do know that they did a show after. So they did a show in 1986 where one of those aftershocks did occur. I think it was in April. Mm-hmm. So obviously it wasn't enough damage to justify it taken down, because there was only been 3 arenas that... the anniversary show has gone through.
Right.
And I think here's the thing. I could literally do a whole episode on CMLL's anniversary show, because there's so much amazing history packed into this. Because a show that's been around since the early 30s has so much. This is just some highlights of the show. And I didn't want to make this be too long. So, Bianca, do you have anything else to add on behalf of this segment?
No.
Okay, so when we come back, we're going to talk about Extreme Rules. So stay tuned for that.